Good morning. My name is John Marsico. This is a photograph of my 8th grade graduation from St. Patrick's Grade School. The school is located on 34th and Pecos. These were 8th grade students. As you can see by the photograph, it's a diversity of people, and it shows that it was a very good, interesting, equal community. The second photograph, this was taken in 1958 at Rocky Mountain Park, and it was the Old Timers Baseball Association team photograph. It was my photograph of my baseball team, Hellman's Best Foods, and I was probably 12 years old when that picture was taken. This is a modern photograph, and this was taken in 2006. That's the house I grew up in, 3436 Shoshone Street, 1 block east of Tejon, 3 houses to the south of 35th Avenue. It shows actually what the neighborhood house on the right looked like. This second photograph is the same house taken last February. The reason I'm showing this house is because it seems to me there's a lot of gentrification going on in the north side, and it kind of bothers me. That lot that's being excavated was actually the house owned by, I'm going to say, my second parents, John and Teresa Quintana. There's a lot of memories with that house that now is gone, and it bothers me that it's gone. And if you look at the house I grew up in, the house right next to it, you can see how it's changed. It used to be exactly like the one I grew up in, but the top has been popped, and it's just been a complete change. And it seems like the area and the neighborhood is changing, and I guess I'm an old guy that struggles sometimes with change. So those are the photographs I have.
Hernandez Ramos, and I live at 3731 Wyandotte. Every year on November 2nd, I put up a altar for Dia de los Muertos, and on that altar are my relatives, people who have passed away, my mom and dad, my husband's mom and dad, and many, many of our friends. Unfortunately, it gets bigger every year. This is a picture of the Nacimiento, the nativity display that I put up every year at my home. I was an apprentice to my father, who was declared a master folk artist by the Colorado Council on the Arts, and he had a collection of over 200 Nacimientos nativity sets, and I inherited them when he passed away. I display them once a year at Christmas in my home, just a few at a time, not the whole collection. And this is a photo of the 4 women who helped to start KUVO radio. We initially started from my home and eventually moved to different studio spaces. We have myself, Veronica Gallegos in the back row, and Dolores Atencio in the front row, and Mercedes Hernandez, my sister, who was the program director, in the front row. KUVO still exists. It's at 89.3 FM, and I hope you'll listen to it.
This is 3 Guadalupes at Our Lady of Guadalupe Church, and I wanted to show this photograph because the mural that was painted by Carlota Espinosa is it was so much part of our community in the north side, but it got covered over by a wall, and so nobody can really see it. There is a group of women, Guadalupeans, who go behind the wall and they pray the rosary. And hopefully someday we will be able to see that mural again. Maybe the wall will be torn down, but at least the painting itself still exists. I like the shot that I did because I was able to get a photograph of the mural, a statue of Guadalupe, and also it's either a painting or a photograph. I think it's a photograph. This painting, this picture here is of a neighborhood gathering back in the 2000s, maybe about 2003, kind of early. the neighborhood would get together, and with a grant from Strengthening Our Neighborhoods, we would put on events every year. And the people that are in the foreground of this photograph are of children, and it looks like an adult, who were doing a performance. If you look very, very carefully in this photograph, very, very back in there, you could see that my husband and I put out some prints and paintings to sell on that day. These events were pretty big and often had a dog show, and they had like food and entertainment and plays, performances, and so the neighborhood would really get down and get to know each other. And I'm hopeful that this is happening in other neighborhoods now, but it used to happen like right in front of my home. This photograph here is of a Zoot Suiter. The performance at North High was done in the Black Box Theater. Jose, what was his last name? Anyway, the director was named Jose, and I don't remember his last name, but he came out of California, and he was the director at the time, and he thought to do a performance of Zoot Suit, which was really, 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 really awesome. So I just wanted to show you this photograph here. That's it. Thank you.
I am Brandy Archuleta, born and raised in Denver, Colorado. This photograph is of my great aunt Lucille Leyva, my grandmother's sister. They used to tell me about the nights that they had at the rec center playing volleyball with the family, their husbands and their kids. I didn't realize what deep history we had at Ashland. I knew we had great history in North Denver, but the rec center specifically. This is Jim Vigil, close family friend, and the person that ran the rec center for a very, very long time. And he's raised generations and generations of youth in the neighborhood, and it really was his life's mission to make it a cultural hub for all of the people in his community. This is one of the many cultural events that Mr. Vigil put on in his rec center, most of which were sports, community events like food drives and Christmas and parties with Santa, but this one hits close to home. My aunt and uncle took lessons here, and they were really involved in dance. My uncle did not want to learn how, but once he did it, he really enjoyed it. And in his high school years, he really appreciated that he was the only guy that knew how to dance and got all the ladies. That was something really special in my family, and they performed at weddings and parades, and it was cool for them to learn.
My name is Tim Hernandez, and this is my photo from May 13th, 2022, where hundreds of students walked out of North High School in protest of having more teachers of color, more Chicano teachers, ethnic studies classes, and Chicano studies classes. And it connects to our neighborhood historically because 50 years ago, high school students that looked just like us walked out just like us and took over streets just like us. Since then, the north side of Denver has experienced the largest displacement of Latino people in the history of the country, over Chicago, over New York, over anywhere else. More Latino people have been pushed out of our neighborhood in the north side of Denver than anywhere else, but the high school remains 70 to 80% Latino students, which means that even when we can't afford to live here, we still drive our students to go to this school. I was the only Latino teacher, Chicano teacher in my department, and I taught our only year-long sections of ethnic studies courses. And I was fired for teaching our students about our localized history, for teaching our students about what happened at La Raza Park in 1981, and for teaching our students that we deserve to be brown and proud, to be Chicano and proud, and that there's power in our community. Sorry, man, I wasn't planning on doing all that shit. 50 years ago, at West High School in 1969, Chicano students walked out of West High School protesting for more Chicano teachers, for a Chicano principal, for more ethnic studies classes. 50 years later, our students walked out for the same thing. The Chicano history of the Northside is one of the most living histories across the country when it comes to Chicanismo, and it's one of the histories that's been so quickly displaced as a result of gentrification. What we forget about gentrification is that it impacts all other systems. It's not just housing, but when it happens at housing, it happens with who lives in the neighborhood, what schools do we send them to, what do our population demographics look like, and what do the administrators in those schools make decisions based upon when it comes to the families that live in our neighborhood.
Great.
Does that work, man?
Thanks, homie. Yeah,
Cool, bro.
Awesome.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, let's get into it. Someone's got to.